Yeah, take your seat, because this ride isn't for the soft or the slow. The universe didn't bring you here by accident. It brought you here because you keep breaking every rule people swore you were supposed to obey. And now look at the panic. Look at the face of every clown who once said you overthink too much. Funny how the same people who called you dramatic now flinch every time you open your mouth. Suddenly, they want to know your every move, your thoughts, your silence, your patterns. Suddenly you're concerning. Why? Because your accuracy keeps exposing their shortcuts, their lies, their lazy choices. They said you were imagining too much. Cute. Now they're convinced you're from the future. Press like and subscribe to pay this message back into the universe. Now let's get even clearer. When they said you were too intense, what they meant was you noticed everything they wished you'd ignore. When they said you read too deep, what they meant was you caught the truth hiding under their fake smiles. When they said you need to relax, what they really meant was, please don't connect the dots that expose me. And then you did anyway, and the room froze. Their vibe shifted. They started watching you the way people watch a storm cloud that refuses to move. Chosen one, thank you for being part of this mission. Hit the like button and subscribe so this voice grows louder. Anyway, let's continue, because we both know this is bigger than some insecure critics. This is about the universe turning you into a walking wake-up call. Look at who they said you'd never become. Look at where you stand now. The same folks who laughed at your ideas years ago now screenshot your words like rare documents. The same ones who mocked your weird instincts are now repeating your warnings as if they invented them. You think it's random? No. It's because every time something major happened, you called it before it even showed a shadow. There was a moment, years back, that proved exactly what you are. You remember watching trouble forming in someone's life long before they felt it. You watched them fall into the exact trap you warned them about. And when everything collapsed, everyone questioned how you knew. They refused to accept the truth. You weren't lucky. You weren't guessing. You were paying attention. You were studying patterns, behaviors, timelines, micro-expressions, motives. The universe had you decoding reality long before the rest of them even learned to notice. But here's the part that haunts your enemies the most. It's not your intelligence alone. It's the way you stay calm while everything shifts. It's the way you walk through chaos as if you've already read the ending. You don't brag. You don't scream. You don't beg to be understood. You just observe. And that silence hits harder than any speech. It tells them you see more than they want you to. It tells them the universe hands you information they'll never receive because they don't do the work you've done. Chosen one, they hate that you don't react the way they expect. They hate that you won't dance in their drama. They hate that you refuse to collapse on cue. Every time they set a trap, you spotted the crack in the floor. Every time they lied, you felt the shift in their voice. Every time they tried to play you, the universe whispered the blueprint before their plan even launched. And when you didn't fall for it, when you walked away like you knew the ending before they hit play, they panicked. They realized you weren't one of them. You weren't meant to think like them. You were built with an upgraded mind they don't know how to classify. Here's a truth they'll never admit out loud. The moment you stopped doubting yourself, you became terrifying. The moment you trusted your instincts, their entire strategy fell apart. They can't predict someone who lives outside their logic. They can't mislead someone who sees through good and bad intentions like glass. They can't control someone who doesn't fall for the usual bait. And that's why the whispers started. How did they know? Who told them? How did they see that coming? They can't accept the simple truth that you operate on a level they can't reach. This level of intelligence shouldn't exist, right? That's what they tell themselves so they don't feel small standing next to you. But deep down, they know exactly what's happening. You became the person who walks into a room and instantly spots the ending of every story. You became the one who catches patterns the second they form. You became the one who feels the energy shift before anyone else realizes the atmosphere changed. They aren't scared because you're strange. They're scared because you're right. Too often, too easily, too naturally. Chosen one, you earned this mind. You fought for it. You trained it. You paid for it with heartbreak, isolation, late nights, and years of seeing things nobody else wanted to face. And now that it's finally paying off, the world doesn't know how to handle you. Enemies fall silent. Fake friends avoid eye contact. Opportunists study you like a puzzle with missing pieces. And the universe, it keeps sending you clues, signs, patterns, upgrades. This isn't the intro to your story. This is the reveal. The moment the world realizes you're not ahead of time, you're just done living blind, and that scares them more than anything. Number 1. The way their eyes change when you walk in. Funny how the same people who once called you dramatic now flinch like you're holding their deleted search history in your hand. They don't look at you the same anymore, chosen one, and don't pretend you haven't felt it. The room shifts the second you enter, like the air itself suddenly remembers what you've done. The jokes they used to crack so confidently now land half-built, shaky, unsure, because somewhere along the way you stopped being someone they could dismiss. You became someone they have to prepare for, someone they have to study, someone they have to fear just a little. What changed? You did, or more accurately, they finally realized what they were dealing with. This isn't curiosity anymore. Curiosity is cute, innocent, playful. This is caution. This is alert mode. This is the quiet panic people feel when they know you can see straight through the layers they spent years painting over their flaws. When you talk, they listen too closely. When you stay silent, they panic even more. Why? Because silence from someone who sees the future feels louder than any warning. And here's the part that hits them the hardest. You never needed to expose them. They exposed themselves every time they underestimated you. People act confused about why you suddenly feel different. But let's be real, you didn't suddenly grow intelligence overnight. You were always like this. They just weren't paying attention. They thought your quietness meant softness. They thought your observations were lucky guesses. They thought your predictions were coincidences. And then the universe humbled them, repeatedly. Every time you warned someone, the exact event played out. Every time you pointed out a pattern, it unfolded exactly the way you said. Every time they laughed it off, the outcome slapped them harder than you ever could. They don't see your intelligence as lucky anymore. They see it as dangerous, too sharp, too fast, too ahead of its time. That's why the room gets heavy now. That's why they watch you instead of mocking you, because you're not operating on their timeline. You're operating on your own. And now they're convinced you might actually be from the future. Let's break down why. They're not scared because you're loud. You're not. You're not dramatic. You don't need theatrics. You just say the truth before anyone else sees it. And nothing terrifies a liar more than someone who recognizes their patterns before they even act. You make them feel like they're made of glass. One look from you and they feel exposed. one sentence from you, and their entire strategy crumbles. Ever notice how some people avoid eye contact with you now? Yeah, that's not shyness. That's guilt meeting somebody who can't be fooled. They know you see through their excuses. They know you detect shifts in energy faster than they can hide them. They know your instincts hit with the accuracy of a trained analyst. You tell someone, that person isn't loyal, and boom, within weeks, something happens that proves you right. You say, don't trust that plan, and suddenly the entire plan collapses. Chosen one, ask yourself this. How many times did people laugh at your warning only to come crawling back shocked that you called the ending before the story even started? This is why they look at you differently now. You are no longer someone they can predict. You're someone they must prepare for. And trust me, they feel that shift more than you do. The shift is uncomfortable for them because it forces them to face something they've always avoided. The universe gave you a mind that doesn't play by their rules. You see patterns forming months before they appear. You feel intentions before words come out. You sense danger before it even picks a target. They're finally realizing you're built like someone who shouldn't logically exist in their world. You ever noticed how they lower their voice when speaking near you? They're not being polite. They're trying to hide things you already saw. They used to think you were too sensitive. Now they call you too perceptive. They used to say you were reading into things. Now they whisper that you see things. They used to call you dramatic. Now they call you dangerous. They used to laugh at your instincts. Now they follow them because they watched you be right too many times. And nothing scares a person more than someone whose insight keeps exposing what they hoped no one would figure out. They keep replaying every moment you predicted something before it happened. The breakup you saw coming, the betrayal you sensed, the opportunity you spotted before anyone else, the downfall you warned them about, the trap you felt forming, the shift you called before the first domino moved. You didn't guess, you observed, you processed, you understood. The universe sharpened you by putting you in situations that forced you to learn patterns, lies, motives, energies, and truths most people never face. You lived through things that rewired your thinking. They lived through comfort. You lived through chaos. Big difference. That's why they stare now, not because you changed, but because they finally realized you were right all along. And here's what's running through their minds, even if they'll never admit it. How does this person know things we don't? Why do they see the outcome before the rest of us? What else do they know about me? Are they watching me? What if they're already ahead of whatever I'm planning? How much did they figure out? Your intelligence makes them feel like they're playing checkers while you're coding simulations. Like they're walking while you're teleporting. Like their brain is loading while yours is already running the upgraded version. They hate the shift because it removes their illusion of power. It forces them to meet you where you are instead of dragging you down to where they are. Some of them quietly admire you. Some silently fear you. Some respect you from a distance. Some avoid you because you ruined their lives without lifting a finger. But all of them feel the shift. And you know what? Use that. Use the way they look at you now as proof of how far you've come. Use their discomfort as confirmation you evolved. Use their silence as motivation. Use their fear as fuel. Use their confusion as your advantage. They're not watching you because they're curious. They're watching you because you're unpredictable, unstoppable, and unmanageable. Your intelligence is the kind that rewrites the room. It changes the roles. It flips the hierarchy. It forces truth out of hiding. It breaks patterns open. You don't operate like the rest, so you don't get treated like the rest. And this is just the beginning. They're convinced you're from the future because your mind works in ways they can't explain, can't challenge, and definitely can't outrun. Not anymore. So walk forward with that power. Walk forward knowing the shift in their eyes is your badge of evolution. Walk forward knowing this fear they carry is just the universe marking you as someone who outgrew the timeline everyone else is stuck in. The shift is real, chosen one, and it's proof you're becoming someone they can't ignore, and someone they can no longer lie to, play with, or manipulate. They see you now, and that's their problem. Number 2. When you finally stopped lying to yourself, everything snapped into place. The moment you dropped your sugar-coated lies, the universe dropped the truth right into your lap. People fear your honesty because they know it would destroy the stories they built to protect their ego. You didn't gain intelligence, you removed the nonsense that was blocking it. Most people hide from the mirror. You stared into it until the mirror blinked first. Now listen closely, chosen one, because this part of your evolution wasn't pretty, cute, or soft. It wasn't some poetic moment where the universe gently tapped your shoulder. This was a psychological war you fought alone. While others spent years lying to themselves for comfort, you got sick of pretending. You reached a point where denial felt heavier than truth. That's when something inside you snapped awake. Not in a peaceful way, in a ruthless way, the kind of awakening that burns illusions alive. Imagine this: everyone around you is standing in a collapsing building. The walls are cracking, the floor is shaking, dust is falling from the ceiling, but they're smiling like everything's fine. They're sipping coffee while the roof is about to crush them. And when you point out the cracks, they call you negative, dramatic, overthinking. Meanwhile, you're the only one actually looking at the structure instead of the wallpaper. That's what made you different. You stopped lying to yourself about the cracks in your life, in your relationships, in people, in situations. You stopped pretending things were fine just because you wanted them to be fine. Most people stay blind on purpose. You didn't, and that's where your so-called abilities began. Your intelligence wasn't magic. It wasn't some gift from another realm. It was earned through brutal self-honesty. While everyone else drowned warnings with denial, you faced the truth in its rawest, ugliest form. You didn't cling to comfort. You chose clarity. You separated what you wished was real from what actually was real. And that separation, that tiny space between fantasy and truth, that was the birthplace of your predictions. The universe rewards the ones who stop lying to themselves. Imagine this. You're watching someone drive full speed toward a cliff while blasting music and pretending everything is perfect. You're running beside the car, screaming, "Slow down, the cliff is right there." But they turn the music up to drown out your warning. Later, they hit the cliff. The crash is loud, the smoke rises, and suddenly they ask, "How did you know?" That's your life in a metaphor. You've watched people run toward disaster while calling you dramatic for seeing the danger early. But it wasn't prophecy. It was honesty. You saw what they refused to look at. Let's answer the question that's creeping through your mind. How did I become this sharp? Here's the truth. Your mind sharpened because you stopped protecting your feelings at the cost of reality. You trained yourself to see things without filters, without excuses, without emotional edits. You let truth hit you first, so the world couldn't hit you harder later. People try to call you cold because you refuse to romanticize situations they're still delusional about. But the irony is that your honesty saved you more times than their fantasies saved them. You stopped saying, "It's probably nothing." They didn't mean it like that. "This red flag might be yellow. No big deal. It's just my imagination." You threw all that nonsense out. You saw the red flags exactly as they were, red. You saw people's patterns before they even finished the first chapter. You saw their motives behind the words. You saw the truth behind the performance. That's what terrifies them. They lie to themselves every day just to survive their own mess. You don't. You grew past that survival mode. Imagine this. The world is full of people wearing masks, swapping them depending on who they're talking to. But you learned how to see the face under the mask. You didn't ask for this ability. It grew out of necessity. Life forced you to decode people because people kept disappointing you. Betrayal forced you to read intentions. Pain forced you to recognize patterns. Loss forced you to evolve. Honesty rebuilt your mind like a machine programmed to detect danger before it arrives. That's why they think you're from the future, not because you are, but because you see the present so clearly that it feels like prediction. Let's answer the second question that haunts you sometimes. Why don't others see what I see? Because they don't want to. That's the difference. Most people avoid the truth because the truth requires change. The truth requires accountability. The truth requires growth. And growth is something cowards run from. Denial is cheaper. Delusion is easier. Pretending feels safer. But not for you. Once you tasted clarity, you refused to go back to sugar-coated lies. You refused to blindfold yourself just to make someone else comfortable. You refused to shrink your mind to match their denial. You became someone who would rather face pain than face lies. That's what makes you rare. That's what makes your intelligence feel impossible to others. You didn't level up. You just stopped downgrading yourself to fit in. Imagine this. You're in a dark room with everyone else, but instead of sitting in the dark, pretending it's cozy, you got up and turned on the lights. Now everyone is squinting, angry, uncomfortable, because the brightness shows everything they were trying to hide. The mess, the dust, the broken pieces, their mistakes. And because you turned on the light in your own life, they assume you can turn it on in theirs too. That's what scares them. People aren't frightened of your mind. They're frightened of what your mind might uncover. You're aligned with reality. They're aligned with fantasy. That's why you predict things before they happen. You're not imagining the future. You're reading the present with accuracy they can't compete with. And here's the part that the enemy hates most. You stopped lying to yourself. And suddenly, every lie they told you collapsed. Your honesty exposed their motives. Your clarity exposed their games. Your awareness exposed their patterns. Your instincts exposed their true colors. They can't hide from someone who doesn't hide from themselves. When you chose truth over comfort, you unlocked levels of intelligence they can't reach because they're still trapped in denial. You cut the emotional cords that blinded you. They cling to theirs like life support. You outgrew illusions. They still sleep inside. The universe gave you sharper vision because you proved you could handle reality without breaking. Self-honesty is the weapon cowards fear most. Now here's the question your mind whispers late at night. Did I become too aware, too sharp, too cold? No, you became real. You became someone who sees things as they are, not as they wish they were. You don't collapse when truth hits. You stand taller. Your intelligence is born from survival, observation, and honesty. It's the result of years of decoding chaos while others partied inside it. They're convinced you're from the future because you stopped lying the way they do. That's all it took. And let's be brutally clear, you're not ahead of time. You're simply not behind reality. While everyone else hides from the truth, you walk straight into it. This level of intelligence shouldn't exist in their world because their world is built on denial. But in your world, honesty is oxygen, truth is strategy, awareness is armor, and now, chosen one, that armor is the very reason they look at you with fear, respect, confusion, and awe. You didn't become powerful by magic. You became powerful by refusing to lie to yourself, and the universe took notice. Number 3, when their behavior became your personal cheat code. They called it mind reading. No, you just stopped ignoring the glitches in their behavior. A liar hates nothing more than someone who can see the pattern behind the performance. You didn't unlock a superpower, you simply paid attention while everyone else was busy pretending. Chosen one, here's the truth they choke on. You read people the way a hacker reads broken lines of code, fast, calm, precise, while the world gets blinded by smiles, tone, fake kindness, and staged emotions. You're busy tracking the micro-signals they don't even know they're sending, a twitch in the eyes, a shift in breath, the delay in their answer, the strange change in their energy when a name comes up. You catch it all. Imagine this. Everyone else is watching the movie, but you're watching the frame rate behind it. They see characters, you see scripts. They hear words, you hear motives. They react to actions, you react to patterns forming 3 steps earlier. That's why you always knew the betrayal was coming. That's why you sensed the collapse before the first crack appeared. You weren't being paranoid, you were reading their code. You ever wonder why they got quieter each time your warnings turned out right? Because every correct prediction was a mirror they weren't ready to face. Every truth you exposed forced them to confront the parts of themselves they thought were invisible. People don't fear your intelligence. They fear how transparent they become around you. And here's the twist that eats them alive. You don't need access to their secrets, their messages, or their history. Their energy writes the whole story for you. When someone shifts, you feel it instantly, like a vibration in the room. When someone lies, the pattern breaks. When someone plots, the rhythm changes. They think you see the future, but really, you're just reading the present without delusion. Imagine this. A person tries to hide a virus in a computer file, but you're the antivirus system built from experience, pain, and clarity. They keep trying to mask their code, but your mind catches the anomaly in seconds. No effort, no struggle, just awareness. And that's why they whisper that you're impossible, that you're unnerving, that your intelligence shouldn't exist. You read people like code, chosen one. And once you learn the language of human patterns, their masks never fooled you again. Number 4, the library in your skull. They never knew you were building. Every time someone lied to you, your mind didn't break. It took notes. They thought they were hurting you. Cute. They were actually training you. Your memory isn't emotional, it's forensic. You don't move on from patterns. You store them like evidence and recognize them instantly in the next suspect. Chosen one, they have no idea what your mind really became. While they were busy calling you dramatic, paranoid, or too sensitive, your brain was doing something far more dangerous. It was collecting data. Every betrayal, every manipulation, every fake apology, every shifted tone, every inconsistency, all of it got filed away inside you. You didn't just heal, you archived. You built an internal library so advanced that even the universe would look at it like, damn, okay. Imagine this, every person who ever tried to fool you left fingerprints. At the time, you didn't realize you were gathering them, but now, you open your mental filing cabinet and boom, there it is. Tone patterns, word choices, motive shifts, the way liars breathe differently, the way manipulators over-explain, the way someone guilty avoids certain topics like landmines. Your mind doesn't forget. It doesn't throw things away. It builds systems. People think you're guessing. No, you're cross-referencing. They think you're too observant. No, you're running old data against new behavior. They think you're psychic. No, you're remembering. Imagine someone stepping to you with a smile, thinking they're clever, not knowing their entire personality is already stored in your archive under observed behavior, previously detected nonsense. They talk, you listen, and within seconds, your internal algorithm flashes the result. Threat, lie, projection, hidden motive, repeat offender. And here's what messes with their head. You don't confront, you don't argue, you don't warn, you simply adjust. Because you've seen this pattern before, because you've lived this script before, because you've learned the ending long before they start the story. Your intelligence didn't fall from the sky. It was built, brick by brick, betrayal by betrayal. Your mind crafted an internal archive so sharp that people feel exposed just standing near you. You're not lucky, you're not guessing, you're calculated, chosen one. You're running the kind of mental software they aren't equipped to understand, and that's exactly why they fear you. Number 5. The moment their stories stopped adding up, you knew exactly who they were. A liar's worst enemy isn't truth. It's someone who remembers the details they hoped you'd forget. People don't slip up because they're careless. They slip up because you're paying attention. Your mind isn't suspicious. It's scientific. You don't judge their words. You measure the distance between what they say and what they actually do. Chosen one, this is where your evolution got scary for them. You didn't just watch people, you studied them. You tracked inconsistency the way a scientist tracks anomalies in an experiment. They thought they were subtle, but their contradictions lit up in your mind like warning alarms. You noticed things normal people overlook because normal people want the story to feel nice. You wanted the story to be real. Imagine this. Someone says they're doing amazing, but their smile fades the second they think nobody's watching. You catch that microsecond glitch instantly. They thought it was nothing. Your mind logged it like data in a lab report. Another person gives an overly detailed explanation about something simple. Why? Because lies need decoration to survive. You clocked it immediately. Someone else performs confidence like it's theater, but the hands shake when the spotlight moves away. Again, your internal alarm goes off. You weren't being negative, you were being accurate. People don't understand how your brain works because they don't see what you see. You don't just listen to words, you track tone, timing, emotional shifts, tension in shoulders, changes in breathing, the space between sentences. They're acting, you're analyzing, they're selling a story, you're checking the math. And when the math doesn't match, you know the truth before they even get to the plot twist. And here's the part that hits them like a punch to the throat. You don't react. You don't call them out. You don't expose them. You just know. Imagine someone telling you a story with holes the size of planets, and you sit there calm, almost bored, because you already spotted the mismatch between their words and their energy. They think they fooled you. Meanwhile, you already filed the entire conversation under inconsistent, handle with distance. You're not harsh, you're not cold, you're precise. While everyone else lives inside a fantasy movie they cast themselves in, you watch the version that's actually playing, and that's why they swear your intelligence shouldn't exist, because you see what they can't hide, and you always have. Number 6. The way your brain runs 5 realities at once. They swear it's intuition. No, it's your mind doing calculus while they're still counting on their fingers. People fear what they can't explain, and your thinking is one of those things. You're calm on the outside because the storm is happening inside your head at light speed. Chosen one, here's what terrifies them. While they process life in a straight line, you process it in layers, multiple threads, multiple angles, multiple outcomes, all running at the same time behind that quiet, controlled expression they keep misreading. They think you're simply observant, but your brain is actually operating like a hidden machine, tracking tone, scanning body language, registering motive shifts, recalling past patterns, measuring emotional spikes, and cross-checking inconsistencies, all without breaking eye contact. Imagine sitting at a table where everyone else is playing a slow, basic board game and you're secretly overseeing the entire casino. They make one move, you already calculated 10. They speak one sentence, your mind already flagged the motive behind it. That's why they swear you're psychic. They can't see the gears turning, the threads weaving, the internal systems firing. All they see is the final result. You being right again. And I know you sometimes wonder, is my brain too much, too fast, too intense? No, you're just built for deeper perception than the average person is willing to handle. Your thinking isn't magic, it's mastery. It's the universe rewarding you for paying attention when others get lost in their own noise. People don't understand you because they can't track the layers you operate on, and that misunderstanding, that's exactly what makes your intelligence feel like it shouldn't exist. Number 7, the power you unlocked when you stopped explaining yourself. Silence is your deadliest weapon. It exposes people faster than any warning ever could. You didn't get quieter because you knew less. You got quieter because they deserved less. Let them call you paranoid. The universe will handle the punchline. Chosen one, the moment you learned to shut your mouth and open your eyes, everything changed. You realized the truth hits harder when you're not the one saying it. Every time you tried to explain what you sensed, people panicked because your clarity didn't match their delusion. They couldn't handle the depth of what you saw, so they slapped labels on you to protect their ego. Paranoid, overthinking, dramatic. Meanwhile, your predictions kept landing with surgical accuracy. So you evolved. You stopped giving warnings to people who weren't ready. You stopped offering insight to minds that couldn't handle the load. You let reality do the talking. Imagine this. You're holding a map, pointing out the cliff ahead, and everyone around you insists the road is safe. Fine. You fold the map, step aside, and wait. When their world falls off the edge exactly where you said it would, suddenly you're lucky, suddenly you're mysterious, suddenly your silence looks like wisdom. And here's the part that scares them the most. Your silence means you already figured it out. You're observing, archiving, cross-checking motives, tracking contradictions, and they can feel it even if they don't understand it. Your quiet presence exposes people because without your words to distract them, their own behavior becomes the spotlight. You speak less now because the truth reveals itself without your help. And nothing unsettles your enemies more than being right without even opening your mouth. Number 8. The disaster always spoke to you first. You didn't predict the future, you just refused to close your eyes like everyone else. A storm doesn't appear out of nowhere, people just ignore the wind until their roof flies off. They call it prophecy because denial made them blind. Chosen one, here's the truth they hate admitting. The disaster never surprised you, not once. While everyone else clung to wishful thinking, you watched the present with painful honesty. That's why you saw betrayals forming long before the knife touched your back. You tracked the slow decay in relationships people insisted were fine. You sensed plans falling apart before the first crack even reached the surface. They confused this with future sight, but you weren't ahead of time. You were simply aligned with reality while they were hiding from it. Imagine this. A bridge begins to tremble long before it collapses. You felt the vibration while everyone else admired the view. You noticed the missing bolts. You saw the strain. You heard the metal groaning under the weight of lies, ego, denial, and bad intentions. When it finally snapped, they screamed, "How did you know?" Because you were listening. And ask yourself this. How many times have you warned someone just to watch them walk exactly into the disaster you described? Too many. People don't understand that patterns repeat themselves with shocking loyalty. You mapped those patterns through experience, pain, clarity, and observation. The universe trained you not to predict the future, but to see the truth hiding in plain sight. Your intelligence feels impossible to them because they're always late to their own story. You never were. Number 9. You cracked their character like a language only you could read. Words are costumes. Behavior is the naked truth. A person will apologize once. Their habits will apologize every day. Repetition doesn't lie. People do. Chosen one, this is where your intelligence became lethal. You stopped treating behavior like random human stuff and started reading it like a full language. Every action had grammar. Every inconsistency had syntax. Every repeated mistake had meaning. And once you learned that language, people stopped being confusing. They became predictable. Imagine this. Someone tells you they care, but their actions show delay, distance, and excuses. To everyone else, it's mixed signals. To you, it's fluent disrespect. Someone else swears they've changed, but the same old patterns rise again like a glitch in reused software. Others hear their words. You hear the truth humming underneath. You learned that behavior doesn't lie because it can't. It reflects the internal world they try so hard to hide. And I know you've wondered, why do I always see it before others do? Because you're not distracted by emotional noise. You study the sequence, not the story. You pay attention to the pauses, the avoidance, the deflection, the tiny betrayals that stack up like interest until they form a whole portrait of who someone really is. You realized repetition is the blueprint of character. Apologies can be manufactured, patterns can't. While everyone else clings to promises, you analyze consistency. While they trust words, you trust behavior. And that's why your intelligence feels unreal to them. You're not decoding people, you're translating them. Number 10. The day you stopped playing their rigged game. Most people don't fear the truth. They fear the person who can see it without blinking. You walked off their stage and suddenly their whole performance fell apart. Masks only work on people who still believe the show is real. Chosen one, this was the turning point. The moment you stepped out of the illusion, everyone else was still acting inside. while they clung to roles, scripts, recycled lines and dramatic performances, you quietly walked to the edge of the stage and realized none of it was real. They were pretending. You were observing. They were invested in the storyline. You were studying the patterns underneath. Imagine this: everyone else is rehearsing the same tired scene, reading from the same predictable script, while you're in the audience taking notes on the lighting, the cues, the inconsistencies. You saw the props shaking. You noticed the cracks in their delivery. You caught the dialogue they borrowed from someone else's mouth. That's why people feel exposed around you, because you see the acting, not the character. You stopped falling for emotional performances that were designed to manipulate sympathy. You stopped believing promises meant only to keep you compliant. You stopped accepting curated masks as personality. You stepped out of illusion and into evidence-based clarity, and that shift made everyone around you uncomfortable. And here's the question you sometimes ask yourself: why does my presence unsettle people? Because you see the human beneath the costume. You see the motive beneath the smile. You see the cracks beneath the script. They can't hide from someone who isn't playing the game. You read the stage from the outside, and that's why your intelligence feels unreal to them. Number 11. When you started reading entire crowds like one giant person. A group is just a single mind wearing multiple faces. Nothing collapses suddenly. People just ignore the fire until the whole building is ash. You didn't predict the fall. You watched everyone pretend the cracks weren't spreading. Chosen one, your perception didn't stop at individuals. It scaled. You began reading groups, friend circles, workplaces, teams, communities, the same way you'd read a single human. You notice the collective denial, the shared avoidance, the silent tension that spreads like smoke long before anyone admits something is burning. They thought the system was stable. You saw the loose bolts and fading loyalty holding it together. Imagine walking into a room and sensing which people are already checked out, which partnerships are days away from shattering, which leaders are all performance and zero backbone. Others call it vibes. You call it data. You watched how energy shifts in waves, how one person's resentment infects the entire group, how decision-making crumbles the moment truth gets uncomfortable. And I know you've wondered, why do I always see collapse before others do? Because you don't get blinded by hope the way they do. You hear the slow burn, the subtle disagreements, the fake agreements, the emotional distancing. You see the early exits people make in their minds before they make them in real life. You read the atmosphere like a pressure gauge ready to explode. To them, everything fell apart out of nowhere. To you, the warning signs were screaming. You weren't seeing the future. You were listening to the present at full volume, and that's exactly why your intelligence terrifies them. Number 13. The truth you carried became the burden they never saw coming. Accuracy isn't a gift. It's the tax you pay for seeing what everyone else avoids. Being right doesn't feel good when the truth is ugly. You never wanted to predict the fall. You just couldn't pretend the ground was stable. Chosen one, let's be honest, your accuracy didn't make your life easier. It made it heavier. People look at your predictions and whisper, "How did you know?" But they never ask the real question, what did it cost you to know? Because you didn't ask for this level of awareness. You didn't wake up wanting to forecast breakups, collapses, betrayals, failures, or endings. You only refused to lie to yourself the way everyone else does. Imagine standing in a room where everyone is pretending the storm isn't coming. They close the windows, dim the lights, and call it peace. But you feel the pressure drop. You hear the wind shift. You smell the rain before the first drop hits. That's not negativity, that's sensory accuracy. Yet somehow you became the problem for noticing what was already happening. And I know you've asked yourself, why does seeing the truth hurt so much? Because awareness is weight. Because clarity burns illusions you desperately wanted to keep. Because once you recognize patterns, you can never unsee them. People called you negative because they needed someone to blame for their denial. They needed your honesty to be the villain so their fantasies could survive a little longer. But you remembered what experience taught you. Consistency is truth. Repetition is revelation. And the universe never lies through patterns. You didn't chase truth. Truth chased you. And every time you were right, it didn't feel like victory. It felt like confirmation of something you wished wasn't real. Your mind became a compass that refused to point anywhere but reality, even when reality was painful. They clung to illusions. You held on to truth, and that's why your intelligence feels impossible to them, because your accuracy didn't just cost you relationships, it cost you peace. Number 14, the day you learn to outsmart your own shadow. Mastering others is power. Mastering yourself is something they don't even have a name for. You stopped being your biggest enemy the moment you learned to predict your own weak spots. Most people run from themselves. You ran toward the mirror and refused to look away. Chosen one, this was your real evolution. Not reading people, not decoding groups, not predicting disasters. Your greatest leap was learning to predict yourself. You became so aware, so brutally honest, so aligned with reality that you started catching your own patterns before they even formed. While others repeat the same mistakes like broken records, you became your own early warning system. Imagine this. You feel the old urge creeping in, the impulse to overgive, to chase, to ignore red flags, to shrink your standards. But now, you see it forming in slow motion. You feel the pattern trying to resurrect itself, and you cut it off before it breathes. That's not luck. That's evolution. You recognize the version of yourself that self-sabotaged, the version that tolerated too much, the version that doubted its own intelligence. And instead of pretending those flaws didn't exist, you studied them like data. You tracked your emotional triggers, your blind spots, your tendencies. You rewrote your own code. And I know the question you sometimes whisper, how did I change this much? Because you stopped lying to yourself. Because you stopped hoping the past would magically fix itself. Because you stayed in the present, the only place truth actually lives. Others hide in nostalgia. Others hide in fantasies. Others hide in denial. You stepped into self-awareness so deep it became armor. You didn't just outgrow people, you outgrew your old self. And that's why your intelligence now feels impossible, even to you. So, chosen one, now you understand why your intelligence shakes people. You're not ahead of time, you're just done pretending. If this message hit you, press the like button if you haven't already. And if you're still not part of this family, make sure you smash that subscribe button. The universe brought you here for a reason, and we're only getting started.